What's a weird bodily function that you can do? Story 1. My cousin can draw air into himself and expel gas on command. Once, when we were children, he was doing it while lying on his back, naked, with his legs in the air, and he expelled a small piece of waste onto his wall. His younger brother immediately vomited. My brother and I were in hysterics. Story 2. I have prehensile toes. I can move them around independently like fingers and can even cross them over each other like one would cross their fingers. I can also roll them to crack my toe knuckles against the floor. I've been told the sound is distressingly loud. Story 3. I can rapidly move my iris and the pupil alongside it, side to side at a high frequency. The other person can't really notice my eyes going side to side without me telling them that I'm actually doing it. And even then, that person still has to be 3 to 6 inches from my face and must be directly staring into my eyes. I think it's unique because I've never met anyone try to do it. They end up vibrating their head during an attempt. From a point of view perspective, everything loses focus and it looks like the whole scenery starts going side to side. I can't do it for more than a couple of seconds because the back of the eyes start to hurt. Story 4. Stop breathing when I laugh. Completely stop. I will laugh in pure silence. My wears out. My body simply forgets how to breathe while I laugh, and if it goes on too long, I will pass out. Then once my body calms, it will reset and I will breathe again. But that is super rare, and usually, I will manage to force myself to gasp and kickstart my body back to breathing just before then. The number of times people have thought I have been choking though and tried the Heimlich maneuver on me, it is quite hilarious yet painful when you cannot speak to tell them to stop. Story 5. I can generate some sort of tingly or euphoric feeling in my body at will. It starts at the stomach and back and spreads out through the body, and I can keep it going. It is kind of exhausting though, as if it's some sort of muscle, but at the same time it doesn't feel like a muscle. I discovered it years ago when I was high and noticed I could induce this feeling of euphoria at will in waves. When I was or am high, I can start it manually and it will go on by itself for a while without input, but sober, I have to keep it going manually and it's tiring, not worth it. It's weird, and I don't know what it is I'm actually doing. Story 6. Gleek. Oh, also, I don't know what it was, but one time I swear I lactated as a guy. I just touched my nipple and some liquid came out of it. I still wonder what it was to this day. Edit. Firstly, I didn't expect this post to get so many upvotes, and I appreciate everyone's input and possible explanations. Story 7. I can apply pressure to my internal nervous system. A lot of people compare it to frisson, but it's more like manually activating that feeling you get right as you orgasm. Like it makes my body feel good. And if I apply it hard enough, my limbs can give out if I'm standing. I can only do it in short bursts, 1 to 3 seconds, and maybe 1 to 3 times in a row until that feeling has to recharge. For more specifics, the feeling emanates from the back of my neck, like on my spinal cord, then travels throughout my body. It's like a button I'm pushing with my mind. It's almost like if you know how to manually give yourself adrenaline or goosebumps just by thinking about it. Story 8. I can rumble my ears, click my ears to fix the pressure, move my lower eyelids in and out, and if my heart is racing, I can take a deep calm breath and my heartbeats will stop for a second before pretty much having / lowering. My medical friend says I should not be able to do that and that I should be dead. Story 9. I had a friend back in high school who could wiggle his eyes. So he would go around smacking himself on the side of the head, pretending it made his eyes wiggle. He always got a kick out of people's reactions. Story 10. I've had a few people comment on this, so I guess it's the weirdest thing I can do. Sit down in a chair and put your left hand on your left thigh. Your fingers are facing away from you, right? Now lift up your arm and rotate your hand until your fingers are facing towards you, but your palm is still facing down, and put your hand down on your thigh, palm on your thigh, fingers facing towards you. Apparently, not everyone can do it, and it freaks some people out. Story 11. I never thought this was weird until everyone pointed it out and tried doing it around me, usually unsuccessfully, but I always cross my legs when sitting on the floor by overlapping my legs, the fire log pose in yoga, rather than crossing them like a pretzel. My knees touch my ankles, and I can do it instantly with no effort, and I can do it anywhere, so I often sit in chairs in the fire log pose. I can also walk in a straight line with my feet touching at the heel, facing the opposite direction with basically no discomfort, though that is not quite as weird, I think. Story 12. I can bring myself really close to orgasm just by concentrating. It doesn't cause the real one and takes about less than half a second to 1 second. It is really hard to stay in that state. Please tell me if anyone else can do this or something similar. I feel the release of adrenaline around my chest, legs, and arms. I always wondered about what it is. My idea is that somehow I have the ability to release some hormones in my body at will. Story 13. I can trigger the muscles in the back of my throat to clear my sinuses by pulling the mucus from my nose into my mouth. It is easier than blowing your nose when there are no tissues around. The only thing is I can only do it so many times before I get a headache. Story 14. Wiggle ears. Double jointed. Make my eardrums rumble when I want. I don't know who else can do this. Stuff I can do, but I think everybody can. Smell directionally. React to powerful electrical or magnetic fields. I think everybody again, or maybe just because migraines. Sense barometric pressure, i.e. impending rain. Raise or lower pulse and blood pressure. Veins pop out. Refocus eyes so that I can see the stuff swimming in my ocular fluid. Refocus eyes so I see little sparks dancing from place to place. Looks like electrons, but no way is it that. The rumbling is this. A small subset of people is able to contract the tensor tympani muscles in their ear at will. Some people may do this without even realizing. They may find that they occasionally experience a roaring or rumbling noise. Story 15. I can pinch my nose and blow air out of my right tear duct. I have only ever met one other person who could do it, and we spent the whole day in the pool going under and taking turns watching each other blow eye bubbles. It was an amazing time. Story 16. Not necessarily weird, but definitely convenient. At some point in my life, I became immune to mosquito saliva. Bites do not itch and fully disappear in about an hour. They do not create circular red bumps either. Instead, it looks like an asymmetrical whitish bump. Story 17. I sneeze when I think of intimacy. However, I need to think of a specific action, such as touching her or kissing an intimate point, truly creating that image in my mind. It does not work while watching adult content. It only works with my wife. I'm not someone who sneezes a lot. The only other situation when I sneeze is when I face the sun, and there is a bright or reflective ground surface like white marble or water. Of course, my wife knows about my condition, so I cannot hide from her if I'm in the mood. Story 18. I can create a low internal rumbling sound in my head at will. It is the low rumbling some might hear when yawning. If you get that, I can just do it whenever I want without the slightest effort or visual indication. It is actually somewhat handy, like a biological noise suppression. It does have a name and is apparently quite rare. It is called tensor tympani syndrome. I have always been able to do it, so I thought everyone could, but basically I can flex part of my inner ear to create a rumbling of the muscles. Some think it is a slight biological deviation that helps some counter potentially harmful noises. Others think it is learned with practice. Either way, I think it is pretty neat. Cannot really prove it, but I definitely have it. Story 19. I can wiggle my nose, like in the original Bewitched. My mother and brother can also do it, so I guess it's genetic. Edit. I can also misalign my eyes vertically, not in the same way as going cross-eyed, which I actually can't do. Story 20. I can wiggle my kneecaps with my hands when I am standing or sitting with my legs stretched down toward the ground. I can also move them while standing. I have no clue if this is normal. My knees are slightly hypermobile, so that is probably why. Story 21. I can blow spit bubbles. My buddy can too. We would have spit bubble battles. He was always better than me, so when he would start to win, I would gleek on him and have an automatic win. It is gross and wrong to think about it now, but we would blow spit bubbles into people's hair in front of us at the movie theater, especially if it was curly hair, because it would just sit there for a while until it popped. Story 22. My jaw, wrists, elbows, and right ankle crack when I move them in a specific way, and I can get cracks out of my second knuckles. There's also a vein in the back of my right hand that wiggles when I move my fingers in a certain way. Story 23. It is difficult to explain, but I can push the lower part of my thumb into my palm. I always thought it was normal until everyone was weirded out by it. Still, I haven't found anyone else able to do it and haven't found out what causes this. Story 24. I can look in two different directions at once. One eye looks one way, while the other eye goes in another. It's not complete simultaneous control, but I can do it in a few directions. Additionally, I can make my tear ducts make audible squishy noises when I rub my eyes. My wife doesn't like it when I do either one of these tricks. Story 25. I can give myself goosebumps. Not sure if this is unique to me or if it's something everybody can do, but I can kind of release a sensation from the back of my neck that gives my arms and legs a chill. Story 26. You know that feeling when a cold shiver runs down your spine? Like someone poured cool water down your neck? I can do that on command. Unfortunately, since it's not something anyone else can see, I can't ever prove it to anybody.